Trade Republic. Everyone talks about the €1 trades. The real story is the banking license behind them.
Trade Republic gets called a neo-broker. Most neo-brokers in Europe, Scalable Capital, Bitpanda, eToro Europe, are technically investment firms. Trade Republic isn't. Since 2023, it holds a full credit institution license from BaFin, and it falls under direct ECB supervision. Same regulatory category as Deutsche Bank, same supervisor, same rulebook. That single fact reshapes everything you do on the app: the fees, the cash interest, the safety of your idle money. The €1 flat trade fee everyone advertises is real, and it's a strong number. But it's not the moat, the license is. Hold that thought because we come back to it. So the €1 fee, flat, per trade. Stocks, ETFs, derivatives, crypto, same number across the board. Compare that to DEGIRO, where the same €1,000 EU stock ticket runs you roughly €3 to €4 once you factor in connectivity fees. Or interactive brokers in Europe, where the math depends on volume tiers most retail traders never hit. Trade Republic isn't the cheapest in absolute terms. Scalable's free broker undercuts it by 1 cent at 99 cents, but the simplicity is the product. One number, no tiered commissions, no exchange surcharges, no inactivity fee, no platform fee. The catch, and there's always a catch, is that you're not getting depth of book or multi-venue routing for that euro. You're getting one execution venue, mostly LS Exchange in Hamburg, which is fine for a long-term ETF saver, less fine if you're scalping. We'll get there. But the €1 per trade isn't actually the differentiator. The savings plans are. Trade Republic offers more than 2,400 ETF savings plans, what the Germans call Sparpläne, with zero execution fee, from €1 per scheduled buy. 2,400 is functionally every major UCITS ETF a European retail investor would ever realistically want. iShares, Xtrackers, Amundi, Vanguard Europe, all covered. So if your strategy is €500 into VWCE every month and don't look at it for 30 years, your transaction cost basis is zero. Not low, zero. Compare that to a traditional EU bank broker charging €5 to €10 per monthly execution, and over 30 years of compounding that fee gap eats a noticeable chunk of your terminal portfolio, into the thousands of euros on a 6-figure account. This is where Trade Republic genuinely wins for the demographic it's targeting. Boring, automated monthly DCA into ETFs. That's the entire product. Now back to the license, because the cash side is where the banking status earns its keep. When you deposit money into a normal investment firm broker, your cash is technically held under MiFID investor protection, capped at €20,000 in most jurisdictions, and the recovery process if the firm fails is slow, messy, and depends entirely on the segregated client account being intact at the moment of failure. With Trade Republic, your cash sits on the balance sheet of Trade Republic Bank GmbH, which means it's covered under the German statutory deposit protection scheme up to €100,000 per depositor. That's the same protection you get at Deutsche Bank or Sparkasse, 5 times the typical investor protection ceiling. And on top of that, idle cash earns interest that tracks the ECB policy rate, not a teaser rate, not a 6-month promo, a structural feature of running a bank instead of a brokerage, because banks have a balance sheet that can hold customer deposits and put them to work. That's the moat. That's what funds the €1 fee being viable in the first place. But here's the trade-off. Trade Republic is mobile only. No web platform, no desktop. iOS and Android, that's the entire universe. The app itself is clean, modern, beginner-friendly, but order type selection is deliberately thin, charting is minimal, and analytics are basic. If you've ever used Saxo's platform or IBKR's Trader Workstation, you'll feel under-equipped within a week. This isn't an accident. It's a design choice. Trade Republic is built for the investor who opens the app once a month to confirm their savings plan executed, not for the trader who lives on a 4-screen setup. And execution is single venue. Almost everything routes through LS Exchange in Hamburg. For a €500 ETF order, that's invisible. For a 10,000 share momentum trade on a US small cap during low liquidity, you're going to feel the lack of routing optionality in your slippage. Product range is broader than the minimalist app suggests. European and US stocks via LS Exchange and a handful of other venues. The 2,400 ETFs we already covered. Derivatives, knockouts, warrants, and Faktorzertifikate, mostly from SocGen and HSBC, at the same €1 flat. Major crypto tokens also at €1 plus a disclosed spread. What you don't get: US-style options, futures, deep international multi-venue stock access, or any kind of professional-grade research feed. Customer support is chat and email only, no phone line for retail. That last one's the genuine friction point. When something goes wrong with an account, and at the firm scale, something always goes wrong somewhere, you wait, sometimes days. That's the cost of running lean enough to offer €1 trades on a bank balance sheet. So the verdict: the license is what makes this broker structurally different. €100,000 of real deposit protection on idle cash, ECB-linked interest, and a regulatory wrapper that's one full tier above every other EU neo-broker. The €1 trade fee is the headline everyone repeats, but the banking status is what funds the cash interest and the savings plans being free in the first place. That's why the moat conversation matters. It's not the price tag, it's what's underneath it. Open an account if you're an EU long-term investor. Germany, Austria, France, Italy, Spain, running monthly ETF savings plans, parking idle cash between investments, and you genuinely don't need a desktop interface or phone support. The math is genuinely hard to beat. Walk away if you trade actively, need multi-venue routing for better fills, want a desktop platform, or you want a human voice on the line when something breaks. For its target demographic, this lands at 8.7 out of 10, the dominant European challenger broker, not because of the price tag, but because of what's standing behind it.
Trade Republic earns 8.7 for long-term EU investors. Full review linked in the description.